that little late.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
talk to me a little bit about your involvement with Fourth Atlanta Action Authority.
Okay. I started with Fulton Atlanta Community Action Authority in 1992, and that was the formulation of the agency. I came from Economic Opportunity Atlanta, which is EOA. I was with the EOA for a couple of years, but I have been in community action in New York for a number of years. So when I came to Georgia, I knew that I had to continue the mission of being involved in helping people. And so coming to Atlanta, I became involved with Fulton Atlanta Community Action Authority, and as the program director. And I love helping people. It's been a mission of my life, not only in community action, but in community activism in New York as well as in Georgia and Atlanta area. I like I feel motivated by helping people through programs and services, helping people to move towards self-sufficiency, because I feel that is one of the most significant ways that people can lift themselves out of conditions that they find themselves in. I'm not sure what else to say.
Oh, I'm gonna go at you. I'm gonna go a little bit off the cuff this morning, and we talked about community. Are you familiar with the Kerner Commission report?
The current commission?
Kerner Commission report.
I'm not.
Okay, well, we're gonna skip that part. If you look at where we are today with young folks, all right? The shooting, the killing, what is missing? What is missing? And I go back and look at, and I go over the Kerner Commission report a little bit. Back in '68, after they had the race riots, President Johnson came up and put together a commission. Kerner was the title of the report. What they did was did a detail in terms of finding what was the reason why they went to war, why they went and started fighting in the city. And they came out and said, well, look, we got to have education, we got to have jobs, we have to have housing. Dr. King said that in the March on Washington. What has changed? And why are we still in the position that we are in?
Well,
based on your experience?
Yeah, based on my experience is that, we don't really have a holistic approach to solving the problems. Holistic approach, and that means involving people that are in that particular situation, just at the community in general, the wider community. We have not invested the money that's been needed. In the 1960s, it was a war on poverty, but in order to win the war, you have to fund the war, and the war was not funded significantly. So there has not been the kind of investment that's needed, and we, the people, have not made those demands.
Ms. Bullock, I could give you these. Any other mail that came, they gave it to Dr. Dorsey, so she probably has it in that black bag.
Okay, thank you.
You are.
So we've kind of, and when I say we, I'm meaning myself as well as, we all are responsible for what's happening today with our young people, with the community. We can't say it's them, we have to say it's we. And we meaning, just everyone. We just have to be hold people more accountable. We have to be more responsible. And I'm a strong believer that, if we're not doing what we need to do, then we become a part of the problem.
You use the term holistic.
Mm-hmm.
Define holistic.
Holistic is when you have, you have a cadre of things, projects, people involved and on a mission with a common goal of really making an impact on the problem holistically.
You look at how long you've been out here being an activist, helping people. Where's spirituality in all of this?
Spirituality is extremely important. It's really the glue that holds everything together. Without that spirituality, without faith that we are going to move past where we are, then just like the adage is without works, faith is dead. So you really have to have that faith, and the work behind the faith.
Tell me a little bit about some of your early stories with FICA, along with the Who's Who. What's his name used to be with the, I guess he was I can't even think of his name. From Arkansas. What's his name?
Walker, Dr. Walker.
Dr. Walker. Tell me about Dr. Walker.
I think that Dr. Dorsey
You can tell me more about Dr. Walker. Okay,
Dr. Dorsey's going to really tell you about Dr. Walker more than I can.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Who can you tell me about?
Some of the moving shakers, of course, Dr. Walker, he was really instrumental in this movement in Arkansas, as well as coming to Georgia. And then, of course, Art Cummings. You know that name?
No, ma'am. Tell me who it is.
Okay, Art Cummings was one of the movers and shakers along with Maynard Jackson.
Mamie Jackson?
Maynard Jackson.
Okay.
He was instrumental in formulating this agency and bringing this agency to the forefront or the development of this agency, Fulton Atlantic Community Action Authority.
Okay.
But Dr. Dorsey is going to be the person that talks about the movers and shakers, those people that came from EOA, community from very early ages, from very early times of community action in Georgia.
If we look at Sonny Walker, Dr. Sonny Walker, where are those type of role models today? Or who would they be?
I'm not even sure who they would be, and I'm not sure where they are. I think that we've not passed the torch. We have not really prepared people to follow the Dr. Walkers in community action. They may be doing other things, but in community action, we have not prepared people to take over the mantle.
If we look at in terms of the civil rights movement, it seems as if that is one of our flaws. We get it started, but then there is no continuation after the person dies. What is missing in that? Are we not training individuals to elevate their position, or what?
Well, I think that that is a part of it. A major part is that we are not training people, but we're not also sharing the history. Part of the training is sharing the history. People, there's so many people, young people that are smart, that are really ready to do the work, and some of them are doing the work, but they don't know the history of community action. And I think that if you don't know the history, you can't continue to move on with the movement, because you don't know the history.
Would you say that's part of the problem with our young folks right now, because they don't know who they are?
Yeah, definitely. And social media has had a positive effect in some ways, but a negative effect in a lot of ways, where a lot of our young people that are raised by young people use social media as a way of information, as their only source of information.
If we look at, I remember when Trump became president and his wife came out with Stop the Bullying. And it seems as if, and tell me if I'm wrong, that we have become worse at bullying one another since that time. And then, where's the truth in all of this? So how do we get this back to our young people?
It's not going to be easy because the bottle has been opened, and to kind of put it back, it's almost impossible. So you have to create something new. Our young people, it's going to be hard, and I don't think that there's one answer or one person. And again, we go back to working together in a holistic way. Go back to, not go back, but move forward with being holistic at what we do, bringing people together and that share a common goal. Because if not, we've already lost a couple of generations of young people significantly. And if we continue in this path, we're going to lose many more. And so it's going to be difficult. It's not impossible, but it's going to be difficult. I'm an eternal optimist, so I believe that we can do it. We just have to,
What would it take?
It would take us all working together, and not just the community. It would take the politicians, we think that, the politicians are responsible for this, responsible for that, but we have to hold them accountable. As I said before, we have to hold them accountable. And if in fact we believe in the future of these young people, then we don't have a choice but to begin to work on healing.
I don't know how much you know about critical race theory.
Well, I know that it's not one of the things that, the way they talk about critical race theory, I know it's not being taught in elementary school. And critical race theory is something that is examined when you get on the college level and you start to look at, what racism and how this, just to have a critical eye, a critical discussion about racism and where it's at. But it's not what the political pundits say it is.
And say, how do we get to the bottom of this? And what you're saying is absolutely right. In terms of the critical race theory, is that it's done out of Harvard, and it was done in college, and it was looking at the way the police reacted on black folks with the law. Now you look at the Virginia governor, he won his election behind that lie. All right? Here in Georgia, Cobb County, Forsyth County, the state of Georgia said, we're not going to have no critical race theory in the school. They are doing this to say, look, they don't want you to say anything bad about a white person to make these white kids feel sad. That's the bottom line. It don't have nothing to do with the truth. But we're not saying nothing. We're just as quiet as we can be. Or we don't know anything about it.
Well, I think it even moves further than not making white kids feel bad. It's got an insidious method or theory behind it in terms of wiping out the history of African Americans. Okay, they don't want kids to be taught the history, what happened with the slaves that came over here from wherever. And it doesn't make people feel bad. It says, for themselves, it gives them a holistic view of history. So it really is about wiping out a history, just like they did with the Native American Indians.
Now,
Or Native Americans.
Now, ironically, I went back and looked at roots.
Mm-hmm.
All right? From beginning to end, all in one day.
12 hours or whatever.
All right. What the hell has changed? What has remained the same? Going back, looking at that and looking at us today.
Yeah.
We've made some accomplishments. But I'm looking at with the media that is out here, we've been completely brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just speaking for myself.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get back on track?
Yeah. That's I guess if we had the answer, it would be, it's not easy, but if we knew what the answer was, I guess it's just, I don't have the answer in itself, but I do know people have to come together if we really want to change things. And, they say that the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
So we can change things, or things have changed to a degree, but they have stayed the same to a large degree. It's just a little different in terms of how it's approached, the way that folks are approaching, racism is a little different. The people that don't look like us are a little different now, but it's still the same. We're still seeing black men being killed by police or killing each other.
Talk to me a little bit about foundations. When you build a house, you got a foundation. If there's a leak in cement, it's going to leak, it's going to fall. If you look at gentrification, when these kids lived in all these public housing, what is that doing to them when they see their foundation fall apart? They don't have no foundation. So the next thing they are mirroring to is their peers. And that's who they respect, that's who they listen to, and they don't respect nobody else.
Well, you had a whole generation of people, young people, that were having children, and their foundation was not solid. And so we had babies raising babies.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's 3 generations, maybe even more than that, of babies that have raised babies and have raised babies. So the foundation has been weakened each generation, and that's biblical as well. The foundation, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And so now we have a whole generation of young people that just don't have no foundation. They don't think that they're going to live past a certain age. And so there's no hope. If you have no hope, the people perish.
Well, I guess the other piece is they don't even know what they don't know.
That's right. They don't know what they don't know. Right?
And see, I give this example. You have these electric cars now, all right? You have these drones now. Where is that being taught in schools? So the kids can have an understanding of what it is. They say they're jobs for who? I look at 5 years ago, Dr. William Barber. We went to Chicago to McDonald's protest. 5 years ago, it was Fight for 15. We ain't got there yet. All right.
You know this dude right
Yes,
here?
sir. We just talked.
He was doing all
He
of
got
your
all
work
his-
before you ever came, so.
That's what I know.
So I got, he's full of information, you're full of information, and I wanna try to
Great.
get,
Sit down.
well, some of which maybe people haven't even seen.
Hello,
You know,
how are you?
how you do
Is there
present
something
things.
else I can help with?
You know, it turned out that the traffic wasn't good for me.
No, okay.
Yeah.
By Southwest?
Huh?
The cab?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think folk are just rushing to get around.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
And they're doing some bad things out there.
Okay, so Joyce, you gotta leave at 11? You gotta leave?
Yeah.
So Joyce, you want to,
Oh, yeah, let me,
Tell-
open
what
up.
we're
Both of
trying to
these
do,
guys
yeah.
have information on us that's galore. I wanna combine it. As I go out, I wanna leave it in the hands of people who are gonna keep going forward. And so what you've got, how it can be used, there is no redundancy. What we have is, you started it off. That before I got to know this guy, he's been so deep and close around here that he's got it going on now.
It's your baby. I'm gonna follow your
Yeah, but
lead.
see, no, here it is. Neither one of you have the same thing.
True,
So
true.
that's what makes it so great. And so how we can merge it, we can do that. You all can trade stuff and talk about how anything could be. But you are in the beginning. You are in the now. And so both of you are now in the now, regardless of when you got started. But Yvonne is the one that has all of the history. So I hope that she's already begun some of that kind of talk.
well,
We wait on you.
yeah.
You're waiting on me.
Yes.
All right, so I'm done.
Okay, so basically what we're trying to.
And we both got on red.
Yes, yes.
Synergy.
Right. Basically, what we're trying to do is put together a pictorial history of community action on a national level and coming into Georgia, Economic Opportunity Atlanta, and into FACA, and everything in between. And we want to have a lot of pictures. We do want to have a narrative that talks about it. And then end up with, where do we go from here? Similar to what we were talking about earlier. Where do we go from here? What are the next steps for those people that Joyce is leaving here, that I've left here? You know, what are the marching orders? Where do we go? But we have so many pictures in different spots. So many, we have brochures and videos and stuff like that, but we're trying to pull all of
Everything
that
together.
together. So it really shows, community action and the significance, not only the programs, but also the impact it had on people. Because I don't really think that story has been told about the impact, because that's really the important
Now
part.
that's probably where we pick up, because by the time we look at what each one of these guys has, other than bringing some stuff up to the current, we have the basic history, and I would love to see how that can form. There could be some redundancy, but people who are looking at something might walk out the room, miss this, but a minute or two later, there's that. So if anything, now we're going into the present, and in the present, we talk about things that we had not talked about since the last recording that had taken place. How long ago was it when you did something for us? 3, 4, 5 years?
Right before COVID, yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere.
And then you've been in and out through all of this because you're probably more local. So we know we are not going to be able to capture everything, but it needs to have the impact so that the brain says, wow, they've been involved in a whole lot of stuff. Right now, I want to talk about our experience and the fact that we've always had a board that allowed us to be as creative as we wanted to be and provided reports that they bought into. In other words, what they've been up to. No, they're able to say, these young ladies work hard. And I chose Yvonne to go into that because she was here, when I say here, in the program before I got here. And she taught me a lot, and we worked hand in hand, and sometimes that does not happen.
I'm sorry.
And it ended up being a very serious undertaking in that we got things done, that we didn't have a lot of scandal and problems with staff. The new staff and the old staff had synergy. And these are things that you look for. So maybe, just maybe, if you all are able to put together what you already have,
Okay.
and then add to it what we are speaking, then we will have the thing that is needed. Because the average person doesn't know what's missing. But it does need to look good, and there needs to be faces. So what we got here today is some new faces. And God can do that if that's not something that's good for your schedule today. But we might want to just say, how is it like? What do you think the people are needing the most of? What can we do better if you were to tell us that? Something like that. And so I think that's going to be probably the finale. Because there's no need in redundancy.
Mhm.
What I want now is to set a time and a date for this to come out. And you know what you got. And whether or not it needs any juggling and joggling, you never do need it.
Right.
So that's a good thing. You know what you got, and you never need to do this, that, and the other. But I see you're trying to take some pictures of us today. And what that does is it brings the back stuff
Forward.
Okay, so based on what we just heard, what's a reasonable time frame that we can at least look at some kind of draft or you know, pulling things together? What is a reasonable time frame?
Let me ask you this, when do y'all want this out?
Oh,
Well, that's the main thing.
This is January.
in just a few weeks.
So-
I mean, really, here's the good thing.
Black History Month,
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, that's
somewhere
good.
around there.
It's like in the beginning,
Right.
when I began, and when Dr. Thomas and I began together.
Right.
That's when you all came in. You came in at different times, so there's a flavor here.
Right.
All we need to do is combine that. You don't really even need to talk. But if there's some kind of message that can be typed up in there, that's fine. Like the year or something,
Right.
you know, or the name of the event, maybe if that's on your hand, or if you got that list. I don't want to redo nothing.
Okay.
There are a lot of folk who have seen it, but they've never touched it.
Okay.
Eventually, what I'd like to do is merge it, or be able to merge it, and then sell it. Some of the folk that sponsor us might want to do that because they could teach others about how organization is able to thrive.
So we're talking about a video.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
which
in
is
fact,
what
that's
makes
what they
sure,
both
yeah.
have is
Right,
a video.
right.
And
right.
some of it is before this young man, and some of it is in between these two. And what we've got is some stuff.
You want a documentary style?
That's
Kind of,
good.
is that what you want?
Yeah.
It's almost like saying, I need to pull what I have, you can pull what you have, then we need to come together and just look at it and then make a narrative out of it.
Right.
Right,
All right?
right.
So we can get the two of your
Yeah.
points.
And the good news is you haven't replicated each other.
Well, that's
the
true.
good thing. You've done some stuff that you haven't done, and I
Vice
think by
versa.
the time we merge it, they're gonna see faces
Right.
of people who are gone on to good
Glory. In our conversation this morning before you came in, we sit down and discussed on when I first met him.
Good, good.
I first met him at the Hilton,
Okay.
right there by
The
the,
25th anniversary.
that's right, that's where I met him at.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's what we can pick up at.
Yeah, because
All right.
he has some history before that.
And this is what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying.
Yeah.
You hadn't been on that long, but it was long enough to see the people who are no longer with us.
All right.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at Sonny Walker.
Yeah.
We're looking at
All
Mad,
the powers that be,
Mad,
and
all of them.
yeah.
the transition
Right,
from EOA
right.
to FICA,
Right.
and then you're looking at where we are today. All right.
Okay.
And also, excuse me for cutting you off, but while I'm thinking about it, also, you know, I'm not sure what we have in terms of how the movement started. Because I think that that's part of that history in
Okay,
65
so
or
we
64,
need to get
when that
rid of it.
Economic Opportunity Act was
Yeah,
signed.
she was around and she could make that can be the introductory thing. And then as I speak, I can talk about how it was when I came and how it is going forward. And I think that makes it beautiful.
Yeah, and you know, we do have something with the signing of the act.
Yes.
1964, Johnson. You have that? Okay, great.
That's the one.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And see, that's what's so good about these dudes. They already got this stuff.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be having to scratch their head about, oh, where I get that kind of information.
Well, that's
from.
what I was doing. But I said, oh, no.
Yeah, then
this
you
is-
thought
yeah,
about
right,
it.
uh-huh,
Yeah.
right. Then we start talking about how to pull all this
Yeah.
stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do need to interview a few people
Yeah.
Yes.
to make it that documentary style and look. Have a nice background on everybody, light, you know, color background,
Right.
different things to make it
Okay.
really pop out.
So,
You
if,
talking about an hour, 30 minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we want to keep it at a level, but whatever the position the thing will hold, let's do that. And that way, anybody that says, oh, I know all that, and they can fast forward or go backwards, whatever they want to do.
Okay.
In other words, you're getting rid of the product that has probably waited for this moment.
I guess I want to go. Just we look at what was,
Yes,
what is,
right.
what's next.
Oh, now that one's a good one, and you're gonna hang us on that one because
But then at the same time, I want to do a disclaimer.
yeah,
That this is not the views of FICA,
FACA.
okay?
Okay.
With you and the president
Right.
and new upcoming president.
Right.
Because that's the things I want to talk about. What we just finished talking about, I want to talk about it with her.
Okay.
That makes sense?
yes,
Does it make sense?
Definitely.
Are we on the right page?
yes, we're on the right page.
All right.
And see,
I'm
people
loud.
need to see that these programs that are out here are not meant for the rest of their lives in terms of tenacity. There's an expectation that people will learn how to handle life and through their family or church or whatever. It goes down because, you know, just like singing in the choir. You listen for the music, but you already know that you're supposed to stand up and give God the glory. Let it go.
Do you have some Black Live footage?
See what?
Black Live footage?
Black lives.
You have plenty of that?
He's been in the middle of
Look.
all of those marches.
You know anything about Georgia Stand Up?
Uh-huh.
Black Voters Matter. I got all of that.
Okay, good.
Well, but we might want to
Yeah.
try to slip that in
Uh-huh.
somewhere
A little bit
because the predominant person that is taking place or dealing with have they're people of color.
Right.
And that's a hard one to crack, but they may see in some of our talking that some folk found their way out of poverty due to programs like this, not just us.
Just from the marches.
Yes.
All the way from the 60s
Right,
to now.
right.
That's
And,
what I'm saying.
and if it seems like it's nebulary, the person who's looking at it has the right to turn it off or fast forward.
And then when Obama was out here trying to do the health care,
Yeah.
all the protests up in the Capitol,
Right,
all
right.
I got all that.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay.
But I
So all
think,
that need to be a part.
yeah, I think that also there's some programs that people really don't give Fulton Atlanta credit for.
Uh-oh.
Such as, I mean, we had some programs like exchange students from Ireland.
Right. Yes.
We worked with the Hispanic community in some projects, some of our major
Do we have
projects.
pictures of any of that in your?
I got some stuff with Joe Beasley.
Yeah, and of course, many people don't realize that legal aid, Head Start,
Right.
it's
All
so,
of these
yeah, so
new
many
programs
yeah,
that
yeah.
were not in existence until
All of
community
Came
action
out of
started.
community action. Came out of community action, and they spun off, and they're still existing.
Yeah.
Foster grandparent
That's right.
was was part of EOA.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many programs that I can't even think of right now
Yeah.
that were part of community action.
Yeah.
I mean, we made a difference. I mean, there was a significant difference made.
Yeah.
But there's still more work that needs to be done.
Yeah. Well, and of course, we will be able to speak on the fact that poverty and programs and needs are circular.
Circular.
Because after you've gotten somebody else whole, somebody new or younger, when that was going on, comes out with a need, and it's no one's fault. Everybody sees life a different way, and they have to look for ways to get out of the hole if they're in one, or ways to plan effectively so that keeps them from getting into hard times.
All right, I got a question. Talk to me about Alice Bonham.
Alice,
She's not doing well.
yes. Well, let me.
You're the person, because I'm not.
Let me go on and make this thing lively. Alice Browner is a person I've known for maybe around 25 years. So she was younger than she is now, and I was definitely young, getting started into this community stuff. When I met her, she set me straight. She said, ain't you that pastor's daughter? Reverend E.H. Dorsey. I said, yes, ma'am, I didn't know you knew him. Oh, yeah, I know him. And you better not do anything wrong and shame his name. This is the type of person she was. And, of course, she would remind me in meetings, now don't be acting like you know everything. That's because we were not taught in my generation, maybe yours, Yvonne, you're just a couple of years older than me. We were not taught to be silent because there was the action movement, all of this stuff going on. And she said, you need to be quiet and listen and then talk. And I've been like that from day one, except today. But I've been like that as a result of the admonishment that our elders needed to give us, because many of us don't even listen to our elders. Now we don't. We certainly don't now, because we got good jobs and make enough money to, brush them off. But that is one woman, Alice Brown, that I can give a lot of credit to.
Next, I want to piggyback off what you just said and said. Growing up,
Yes.
my whole time in Atlanta, I've been documenting Concerned Black Clergy,
Right.
Rainbow Push,
Right.
the People Agenda.
Mm.
I've been quiet. It's only in the last, 2 years, 3 years,
That you came out the hole.
that I came out and I started talking. But what I'm talking about now is the 14 years worth of videos
Uh-huh.
that I have on them,
Right.
and to talk about what has changed,
Right.
what has remained the same,
Right.
and what do we need to do as a community to make a difference.
I think that might come through the conversations. People tend to learn when they listen, and they hear something while they're listening that they hadn't heard. And this history of community action and community involvement is still not really well understood. And now, today, there are so many organizations, no one knows which one that they can turn to, unless somebody has already pointed them in, have to feel for it.
I think that in the 80s, community action nationwide was
Right.
extremely impactful.
Right.
For 15 years maybe.
Yes, it was
maybe,
new too.
yeah, maybe 20 years.
Mhm.
In the 80s,
Mhm.
what happened is funding became, let me go back, the initiative, the Community Action Initiative, Economic Opportunity Initiative, was signed and was in the President's office. The President of the United States had direct contact with that particular legislation. And so it had a lot of teeth. Okay, the money was flowing, and it was flowing to communities and making an impact. Community people were involved I mean, it was part of the legislation that community people would be involved
Right.
in involved in what was happening in their neighborhoods.
Right.
In the 80s, the funding became block granted. And once the funding became block granted and went to the states, that's when people start to focus on, or compete with each other, focus on getting the money
Right.
and not really dealing with making sure people were involved in the design of programs.
Was that manpower?
Well, Manpower was part of
That
it.
was one
Manpower started with Community Action, was one of the programs that came out of Community Action as well. But in the 80s, they block granted a lot of the major funding, which is Community Action was one of them that was block granted. I think TANF for social, not Social Security, but
The welfare type
yeah,
programs.
TANF became block granted.
Yeah.
So people started to struggle with getting funds because it became competitive.
Right.
Okay, it wasn't like Community Action used to automatically get that money from the federal government, but it became block granted, and so that's when you had actually I would say the death of people becoming involved in their community and helping to design programs. From the 80s on, that's when community actions agencies started to look different.
Okay. Now let me ask this. We need to talk about the origination of the community development block grant. Now, didn't Fulton County, Rob Pitts say he want to cut out community development block grant from the city?
Right, I mean, it had run its course and the outcomes were not as favorable as they anticipated. Or it cost too much.
Now,
Well, there was two. There was a community services block grant.
Right.
And then community services, community development block grant.
Uh-huh.
And then the community services block grant. So there
Gotcha.
was like 5 block grant programs.
Right.
And people kind of confuse the development, community service development and community services block grant. So there were 2 different distinct programs. The development, community service development had to do with the housing and some of the other infrastructure kinds of things. Community service had direct impact services on people. So it was 2 distinct grants, and the community service block grant went directly to community action agencies.
And what you had really is autonomy. And the autonomy might have caused groups to have, voids in between. People go here, but they didn't get all their needs met, then they had to go there. And eventually there was synergy because you had the United Way that brought people together. But she's making a point that we might need to look at again because the organizations that help the poor don't necessarily
Help them.
share that information. So there might be duplicity, or it might be that somebody's left out because on the record, I see you've been at this program. We can't help you.
Munch Ministry got that.
You were talking about the holistic, earlier we were talking about holistic, so it's not really a holistic view of how you serve people, okay? Because people come with a multiplicity of needs.
Right.
And it's not only giving them the money, but it's talking about the housing needs, you're talking about the mental health needs, you're talking about just feeling better about yourself. I mean, how do I deal with childcare? How do I deal with my kid that's acting out in school? How do I deal with all these other issues? And money is just a small part of it.
Right.
Are we meeting them where they're at? Let me ask this. Recently, Newport News, 6-year-old in school, he done shot the teacher.
Right.
All right? Now, they in the process now of finding the superintendent. They didn't have the money for the weapon protection to get out from better lack of a better word. But nobody's talking about the source of the problem. How do we get to the source?
Well, we need people like Yvonne
You see,
to speak to the public, because believe it or not, nobody wants to talk about that. That's really some kind of a way to open up and reveal what our shortcomings are. And who wants to do that? Even parents don't want to do that where their children are concerned. So you know that politicians who really may not have an answer, because that answer is going to require money and people who are flavored with the ability to help bring people out. But the whole system is relying on people to come forward and help. But I don't know if everybody knows how to do that now.
but the question is, are we a thinking community? Example, now you don't turn around and gave Ukraine all these billions of dollars.
Right.
And right now,
You got people
you
over here suffering.
you got a deficit.
Right.
All right? Everybody talking about classified papers.
Right.
But ain't nobody talking about this is going on.
Right.
So what's really going on?
You're just making it one day at a time. That's really what's going on. The average politician has not been trained as a social worker, let's put it that way. So they can see the problem, but they don't have the answer to the problem. It's not in the head, because when you're a politician, you might see something in your own district, but you don't see the biggest part of the thing, which is holistic.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go back to what I asked you earlier today. When the Kerner Commission report came out, if you look at then, we were trying to connect the dots. To look at the Kerner Commission then, to look at where we are today, how much has changed and how much has remained the same?
It's the same all the way through.
If we had done what the Kerner Commission report asked in terms of housing, jobs, would we be in the better off?
It's been done. There are reports on how to alleviate the kinds of things that people are going through. But there is a reticence toward trying to put money behind it, making programs that are in process or active, become a joint partnership with the government. But FACA is paid by the government. But there are many things we can't do because that's not what the program is set up for, let's put it that way.
I guess what I'm saying is, how is it that a little country like Ukraine can come over here and ask this government for all this money? They can receive the money. What are we not doing in our own community so we can better protect and fund our community? What needs to be done?
What you're not seeing is bribery. Everybody knows that this war that is going on has another reason behind it. And for the sake of saving my own life, I'm not giving you my opinion. But
we need to put a disclaimer on this. This part right here is not. This is not Fulton Action Authority. This is Dr. Joyce, Reverend Dorsey.
Well,
You don't want to do that either.
no,
Okay.
I think we can make it plain. Nobody wants to see the type of change that it takes to make this whole world a nice place. If Jesus Christ wasn't able to get people to love one another and do it right forever and always, what makes you think it's going to happen now? It's not going to happen. Everybody has their own way of thinking, and that has been permitted from the day that time began. And that's what the problem is. We are all left to our own devices. You read the Bible and you read all that all the time.
Joyce,
Okay.
you probably-
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's almost 10:30.
Okay.
And Terry's got to leave
All right.
shortly.
Terry, I need your phone number.
Yeah, so
Okay,
we can
now,
set
yeah.
some timelines.
Yes, Terry, if you want to ask a question, bring up something that has not been talked about, tell us what you think about this conversation already.
I think the conversation is good, but for me, just a background, I would use, different background
Right.
for.
Yeah,
Mike-
and that's good, because all that needs to come together.
Right, and mic you up.
Right.
It's fine what you have, but it's just, mic you up.
And you're true, and you're right, this just raw.
Right,
This raw.
So that's the
Mic you
thing.
up, I like that.
But see, the thing about it, he has the equipment that I don't have.
Right.
He can fine tune it. I'm the guy in the street and I'm raw.
I was going to say,
All right.
I'm glad
Hey,
you
but
used that.
raw footage is good though.
Yeah, but see, he can go from
It comes
there.
across to those who may not have been, you know, a lot of folks don't understand. So when we talk like we're talking, people who have not been able to understand what's going on,
Right.
we might be a little bit more simplified doing things this way. But as you speak, we need to be able to probably have some sort of wording that says how to have a gifted life where you have enough money.
Right.
Well, some of that's still dreams.
Yeah.
It needs to be told.
Oh yeah, good touch. And as far as as far as my part, I need a script. I need you to, write down from 1964
To where we are.
to now.
And she's working on that.
Right.
Okay, and I think that avoids any mixture of the conversation, so somebody say, huh?
Right.
Basically, he's doing a timeline.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, that timeline would turn around and include,
Script it out word for word. You know what I'm saying? So.
And it doesn't need to be totally long.
Right.
Yeah.
It needs to
Okay.
blend
Yeah.
okay.
at some point.
Because what I'm thinking is having voiceovers too.
Right.
To add to the effect and
Yes.
everything.
And we could do that by Zoom, if you have anything that you need.
I'd rather
Do it in person.
Yeah, because I got a recorder that I take out,
I see.
or I might get a voiceover person
Right.
that does my documentaries for me.
Right, right.
So we can have that real
Okay.
documentary voiceover.
Or
Okay.
feel, okay.
Yeah.
So we are talking about having it done by February,
By the end of February.
end of
at
February.
least.
All right,
Okay.
that'll work.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
closing
Let's
out,
give it
yeah,
time.
closing
Yeah,
out the
yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
okay.
Terry, what's your number?
770-866-2463.
You on Facebook or
Sometimes.
YouTube?
Sometimes.
Okay.
He's
Gotcha.
too busy, you know, he's also a church man.
Yeah.
And
What you
he
doing in
does a
church?
lot.
Media, I do all the.
What
sound
church?
Video. New Mercies. We're in Liberty.
Okay.
I might have to take the drive out there, Bill. I might have to have
Love for you to
also
come out.
That'd be
Oh,
nice,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
something so I can eat while I'm driving.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
That's okay.
How far is that?
It took me an hour.
Oh,
That because of all the traffic.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this
But it's gotta be somewhere close to,
I'm in Powder Springs.
It's right up
so it
78.
take
45
me-
minutes.
You know what 78? Highway
I'm there,
78?
yeah,
In Snellville,
Yeah.
Grayson area.
yeah,
I
yeah,
had it.
okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Dorsey been close. She went to my music store, so
Okay.
she was close.
Who is Athea Boone?
So how soon do you need this?
Athea Boone.
You talking about Joe Boone's?
Is that Joe Boone's
sister?
wife?
Wife? No. Joe Boone's
Past the present.
daughter.
You,
And not Andrea.
Okay, so
Probably
I don't know who you're
Okay.
talking about.
Somebody was with
say next Friday?
Yeah, let me just.
Next Friday?
student movement.
Yeah, because I just want to make
I saw that name today when I
That
was
was
came
not
through
in my
great.
plans. I
feel
don't know.
touch.
Or I might know it when I see him. It's not, that's,
Okay, so by next Friday, I will have a script ready. Okay. So that is the 3rd of February.
Yeah, it's for my birthday.
I got to get with you to get the cameras and stuff.
But
Okay.
meanwhile, you only get together.
okay.
So I got some hard drives in there.
Well,
So
I'm gonna start pulling stuff,
Uh-huh.
and when we get the script, we'll
Okay.
get together then.
Okay.
So we can
All
see
right,
what
so
the script.
we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Because a lot of that stuff I gave to you on the jump drive too.
Okay.
And Joyce and I'll do this, draft of the script and get it to you.
Right.
And then, we can.
Whatever you wanna add or take
Yeah.
out.
Right.
Put that.
Okay,
Women
now
in
I
red.
need one business thing from you, and that would be at least your thoughts about what it takes to do what you're doing. 'Cause
Financial.
You've not really, you've not really said that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that now that I'm on camera,
Oh, shit, y'all.
moving. And we might even have to invite someone from the TV station when we put this thing out.
Well, that's true. That's
Because
true.
They will probably want to sit down with somebody at this table, and maybe somebody else to make sure that we are talking about a history. And I do know that there are other organizations that are doing what we're doing, especially since COVID came along and the government started funding a lot of community organizations that never did this stuff. And now they have become very well placed in this thing. They know what they're doing, and the people call them just like they call us. But there's enough poverty to go around. That's probably the only thing that I can really say that makes sense. There's not anybody, it's no duplicity, because one program can help you this week and another one can help you a month later.
Okay.
And they may have their stipulations.
How they
behind
connected.
it. And we do communicate with each other.
Okay, so if I get you a script by the 3rd, when can we come back together? So 2 weeks from that is the 17th or 16th or whatever. I mean, does that give you all, that's 2 weeks, that give you enough time?
It'll give us enough time to put something together.
Yeah. It will.
Okay, so what's a good week, what's a good time, the week of the 13th?
That's Valentine's. You can be my sweetheart with all this red on.
Okay, it could be after Valentine's.
Oh, with all this
It's
red
on
on.
Monday.
I ain't right.
I get you on Valentine's.
See, I've been around Dr. Dorsey too long.
Yeah, February's a short month.
Yeah, it is a short month, but.
Well, let's look at your availability and compromise with it.
Right now, I'm open. I got you.
Okay, so
You ain't going up north no more?
what day is not
No
good
time.
for any of
Everything
you?
is okay up there now.
Friday is probably not the best day, right?
I sent you the article.
For you,
I just-
No, I'm just asking.
I might need to look at it.
Friday,
I give it to you right now.
Friday may work. For that
Friday, the what?
17th,
17th,
The 17th.
same time,
same
or
time.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock is better.
Okay.
Because for me,
I can call you
I'm
right
coming
back.
from Powder Springs.
Okay, that's fine. It just, yeah,
Okay,
that
10.
should be good on that day.
Okay, say the date again.
February 17th at 10. That's Friday.
Okay.
And that, we'll look at the draft.
At 10, okay.
The draft, okay?
Yeah.
And then if we, because it is a short month, if we go into the first week of March for the completion,
Yeah.
that, I think that'll work,
That'd be
okay?
good.
Does that work for Joyce?
I'm gonna make it work.
Okay.
So 17th.
So Dr. Grant was not here, is he here?
He may have gotten here. When I went up there, the door was up.
Well, that sounds good, you have my number, so you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
call me if you have any questions about anything.
Okay.
At what time is it gonna start?
10. And if we
I-
need to
I
go,
got that.
will you be available to go beyond whatever time we need to complete it on Friday?
Complete.
Look at the draft and,
Oh, look at-
you know, have discussions and all that stuff.
If
That'll be
not,
on the 17th.
Yeah,
Okay.
if not, I can leave it with you. We can leave it. Y'all can look at it and take notes.
okay,
Like, that's what I used to do
Yeah.
with Dr. Dorsey.
Okay.
She'll look at it in private or whatever, or you all get together and just take notes.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
That's the easiest.
see, we
way.
don't have to even be persnickety. This, what we are doing, is never done.
Right,
So if anything, we become the mark.
right,
How you get it done?
yeah.
that sounds good.
You better watch out, some folk might come running.
Oh, that'd be fine.
So if we, but you're not gonna be interviewing people that day, right?
Well, we can set up a date. That's what I'm saying. When we get the script,
Okay.
then we can see, you know.
Yeah, because
then
I'm just wondering whether or
If you
not.
find whatever people you want to just get in contact with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can set up another day to come in and do all
It's not
them.
a relative.
You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
can set up
My
a
great
background. I come
nephew.
in a day early.
20 years
Set
old.
up camera.
My sister's
Will that
daughter's
draft,
son, only
video
child.
be available?
You know what
to-
happened?
If we don't come
Yeah.
in, will it be available?
got
to
caught
look
up in it.
online or to look
In the middle of
look at it on?
it. It
You
was over
talking
30
about
shots.
Well, I mean.
He got,
Well, I was
he
just
was the only
wondering
one.
too.
And he
what I
left
could
on the
do is,
ground.
I would rather give it to you
Make me
Okay.
on a USB drive.
Okay,
So
okay.
you can look at it.
Okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah, I hate downloading stuff, because sometimes when you download it, it don't look right
Okay,
when it get back to you.
okay,
We would
okay, that's
decide.
If I
fine.
can give it to you on a USB
Yeah,
drive.
that's fine. I was just thinking about, you know, timing and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, coming down and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joyce, we
Yes,
need
ma'am.
to identify those people that's on staff here
We're
that
gonna
you
go
want to
with the
interview?
oldie goldies that came to the meeting
Mm-hmm.
that you sponsored.
No, we didn't have the meeting.
When we were out there in Buckhead, that way.
What you mean?
With Gloria and.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are the ones.
Okay, those people.
Yeah.
Oh, when you said oldie golden, okay, Gloria and
I
Teresa.
counted myself in there that time.
Gloria and Teresa.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Do y'all have anybody that can speak from the 60s?
Yeah, that's
And
what we're
then have
talking
somebody
about.
speak from the 70s.
Yeah,
Then
That's
have somebody
your
speak
time
from the
out.
80s.
right.
Then the 90s, then the 2000, 2010, 2020,
Bring it on up.
then present.
Right.
And we can get
Okay.
however many, to speak
Yeah.
on it. Each individual can speak on that
Right.
time.
That time.
Good time, okay.
Now, here's the outcome I'm looking for.
And tell them we don't need but about 3-4 minutes.
Minutes, right.
Worth of stuff, so.
The debut of this would be on film where everybody can see it on TV. We can get somebody to do it as a, whatever they call it, when the news people decide to put something that's really relevant on TV. I don't know what it's called.
But we can put it on YouTube, right?
We
Yeah.
can put it on YouTube, yeah, documentary.
Documentary.
And then this thing can roll around. Most agencies don't do this.
Right.
What I'm hoping to inspire is that folks start tooting their own horn after all these years. And then when they see that you guys are very astute in this, next thing you know, they might be driving you crazy. Can you come and do this? Now, Yvonne and I have something in common, and that was we operated under the tutelage of what was it? Emma Darnell.
Emma Donnell. I got a picture of her.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
and she may have been, for me, the meanest person I've ever gotten, guidance from. I never worked with her, but Yvonne did.
What about Natalie Hall?
Natalie Hall is somebody I know, but
Didn't she work for Emma Donnell?
yeah, she might have been somewhat of an assistant at some time.
And there
Short.
she's the council.
Yes.
She's the commissioner.
Yes.
All right.
Archibald? No.
No,
No.
who else? Kwanzaa wife. Kwanzaa wife.
Yeah.
Natalie Hall.
Natalie Hall. Natalie Hall has come here. We want her on our
Right.
board.
I got that video.
We want her on our board.
Where is Rob Pitts? Where was he in all of this?
He was not involved
It's not
at all.
involved. Right.
Okay.
He's more of a politician than a social worker. or
Okay,
of
okay.
People who are in stress. That's not.
I already have videos with Ms. Bond,
Yeah.
so we ain't got to worry about that.
And
I gotta
she's not
put-
doing well right now.
No, I haven't. I couldn't get her daughter Denise to call me back.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a wrap.
Yeah.
We're kind of marching on this. Well, you only
Yeah,
do is
well,
get how you-
and I hope that it's not overbearing. It's just a matter of pulling together what you have, because what you have, we might have shown it, but it's not the same thing. Is what we're trying to say.
I'm gonna say something. It's gonna take about 2 minutes.
Make it
And if I start crying,
make
if I
it 1
start
minute.
crying, huh?
Make it 1 minute.
Okay. I ain't gonna cry now. I went with Dr. Tate over to Morehouse, and not to Morehouse, over to Morris Brown. Went up Fountain Hall, but then I had a meeting. She ended up going over to Hunter Street, the old church, Abernathy's church, next to Walmart. I ran into Annette Abernathy. I did Mrs. Abernathy's funeral, her,
Right.
and I also did her husband's funeral. And she asked, would I do an exhibit?
Good.
Okay? So at the same time this is going on, it all ties into the exhibit. Okay? Because I talked about connecting the dots.
Well, if somebody's having an exhibit, you need to pull out all that stuff. That's all. Have yourself a room. Folks see that? And they remember Atlanta back in its day.
It's
This
gonna
is not
happen.
Same Atlanta.
It's gonna happen. So that's what we're working on.
Okay.
So I just thought I'd say that, and that's, they trying to do this.
I expect that.
Around the, Easter weekend,
Okay.
the time of
You
Dr.
got it,
King.
all you have to do is
funeral.
stay up one night. Because
No,
you
I gotta
already
stay
know
up
what
more
you're
than one
doing.
night.
Really? You already got
I know it, cause I got it with you.
that. Yeah, but you guys, I mean,
You know?
why you think we called you too? You're all the experts. We don't have to, and you already know about the agency, so that's important. You cannot do this easily
If you don't know nothing about it.
know. Right. And I believe you me, before we got started, I asked a couple of them, what you know about this? And it's like, you know. Yeah.
All of this stuff ties in. It ties in. It ties into everything that I've been doing.
Okay, so let's tie it up.
All right, let's go.
Tie it up
Right,
and fire
sounds
up.
good, sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
We got our marching orders.
I'm relieved, because I was scratching my head,
What?
you know, because you guys had it all. And I
Yeah.
was trying to create something that was
You
already there, right?
didn't even need to create
That's
this
right,
stuff.
that's right.
But we're gonna speak our minds to make sure that you know exactly what counts in the message.
Yes, yes.
Dr. Dorsey,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just write it down.
I was asked if we need to bring in the new CEO, and I said not at this time.
I don't know if he's here, but.
He's here.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you do that?
You what?
That way he could feel a part.
What I wanted to do was have a conversation with the two of you in his
That's,
office.
so, okay.
That undocumented piece.
All right, let me see if he's
Take-
busy and.
Okay.
can do it.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna, you know, he's
It'd just be
passing
the
the
two
mantle.
of us, yeah.
He's passing the mantle, yeah.
If you don't have
See.
to go right away, it'd be good for you to sit there, because you represent the beginning of faculty.
And he can tell us where he's going from
Where
there.
he's going from there. What is your email?
Bradley Report.
Yeah.
Bradley Report, you better write it because you can read your writing.
Bradley Report?
BRADLEY report @gmail.com, all one word.
Did you?
No.